Shalom and welcome to Biblical Faith with Sam Peak. We invite you to join us as Sam brings a study in the Torah from the Jewish sages. And now our speaker, Sam Peak.
But y'all keep talking.
How about rent? You think rent is a
Rent
little
is
bit
reasonable.
cheaper than
Rent is
$500,000?
reasonable. We visited friends and we got that cherished.
Shalom Aleichem. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. I know y'all are having a good time, and we have people in the class tonight who just got back from, what, 2 or 3 months in Israel? Yeah, 2. And I'm very jealous of them already. And but I'm really glad that they were able to go and do that. That was good. Okay. But as me and Lonnie were talking about it, I'm talking about the humidity in the north. I'm sitting here sweating just thinking about the humidity in Tiberias. Yeah. Okay, well, let's study something. That's, y'all made me come, so we have to do something.
Amen.
We've been studying for a while now, Pirkei Avot, the chapters of the fathers in the Mishnah. And we've been using a really nice commentary, originally written by the Maharal of Prague, Rabbi Judah of Prague, about 500 years ago, in a book put out by Art Scroll, edited by Rabbi Tuvia Basser. If you have that book, we are actually on page 187. Now tell me if I'm not correct. And we are in chapter 3 of Pirkei Avot, in Mishnah number 18. And we'll read the whole Mishnah again, 3:18, just so we remind ourselves where we're at. And it begins, and he says, he used to say. Now the he is Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva is such an unbelievable sage, and really wrote and taught all the foundational work that we have of what we have today from the oral Torah. So he is very, very important. So Rabbi Akiva, he used to say, "Beloved is a human being, for he was created in the image of God. And it's indicative of even a greater love that it was made known to him that he was created in the image of God." All right? And we can understand these things on a very simple level. As it said, Bereshit 9:6, "For in the image of God he made man." Then he says, "Beloved are the people, Yisrael, for they are described as the children of the omnipresent one. And it is indicative of a greater love that it was made known to them that they are described as the children of the omnipresent one. As it is said in Devarim 14:1, you are children to Hashem your God. Beloved of the people Yisrael," he says, "for a cherished utensil, tool, vessel, really, in a sense, was given to them. And it is indicative of a greater love that it was made known to them that a cherished vessel, utensil, was given to them, through which the entire world, meaning the entire universe, was created. As it is said in Mishlei 4:2, "For I have given you a good teaching, do not forsake my Torah." So already we know that the cherished utensil is the Torah itself. Okay. Where we left off, the last time we were actually together, we did a whole long thing about what is this image, what is the Tselem Elohim, the image of Elohim, and we're not going to recover that. We're going to, just because we have to push forward, we're going to start actually in the middle of this page on 187 on a comment where he says, "Beloved is a human being, beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God." And the Maharal points out, and we could really work on this for a while because it's important, in the sense, excuse me, in the sense of, you remember how the spiritual universes work. Only those things that are similar are able to come close to each other. Things that are not similar or alike cannot come close to each other. All right? And the Maharal points out that love actually develops between those who are similar. Okay? Now this doesn't mean like in the physical world where there's the popular saying that opposites attract. That's in this physical world. Maybe that is so in this physical world. But in the spirit, it's only things that are alike that actually attract. All right? And the Maharal is pointing that out, and that love actually develops between those who are alike. Since man has been created in God's image, then there's obviously a connection between God and mankind, and that, he says, culminates in divine love. Now, we also have to know that that actually is the final commandment, that you shall love Hashem your God. A lot of people think it's the first one, but when we say the final one, it's actually the last one that we actually usually do. To really come to love Hashem our God, okay? At least that's according to the Baal HaSulam, Rabbi Yehuda Lev Ashlag, and he gives wonderful reasons for it that maybe we'll get into. I don't know if we'll make it there in this particular session or not, but we have a lot of work to do. He goes on and he says, it's indicative of a greater love that it was made known to him, made known to human beings, that we are created in God's image. And he says, why is this? Well, we can understand that. He says, articulating love, telling someone that you love them, forms a strong bond between two parties. And it also informs, he says, the other party that you seek their love. The Mishnah calls this a greater love, he says, because God seeks the love of Israel, and I think in all the entire human race, in return. So, what is he trying to say? Why is it indicative of a greater love? It is because this is Hashem's telling us, God telling us that you are made in the image, B'Tselem Elokim, in the image of God, is his way of telling us, I love you. Okay? And I don't know about you, but you know, I think women, it's only women that are this way. But I'll get some email from that. I mean, you know, if my wife tells me I love you, if I don't respond, then she won't say anything. But I know, I can tell that it didn't go over very well. Now, I can tell her I love her, and if she doesn't tell me right back, I don't even worry about it. But but because she doesn't have to say it, she shows me by her actions. But you understand what I'm saying? Usually if you tell someone, I think most people, if they tell someone that they love them, they want to hear it back. Absolutely. Okay, absolutely, most people are agreeing. So it's not just women, I don't think. I'm just saying in my personal experience, this with my wife. All right. So he says, he seeks the love of mankind because God's love is revealed. He showed it to us, and it is active, meaning it's all the time. Meaning also that he doesn't fall out of love with you. Okay? All right. It goes on, Shene'emar, as it is said, for in the image of God he made man. He said, if we actually, now this is a quote from Bereshit 9:6, okay? Genesis 9:6. And he says, the verse that is quoted by the Mishnah reads in its entirety in Genesis, whoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God he made man. He says, and this verse actually tells us, if we just pay attention, it tells us how precious and beloved human life is to God. A lot of times we read things, you know what I'm saying? I do it too. It's not like I'm preaching at you. Just reminding my own self. And so many times we read things over and we think, well, that's a given. We take that for granted. And we don't really catch what he's actually saying there. The reason he says that is because human life is extremely precious to him. And as a result, it should be also to us. As it is said also, this is another text where it says from Devarim 14:1, where it said, you are children to Hashem your God. He said, if we read the proof text in its entirety, it says, you are children to Hashem your God. You shall not gash yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. Then he goes on, and I don't know if he actually explains it, but we'll see what he says. In other words, you don't. This also is a way of saying, I love you so much. Usually most commentators will say that that's a reference that you shouldn't act like pagans, okay? Because they did such things. But the Maharal's point that he's actually trying to make, I think, is the main reason that God tells you, don't hurt yourself, don't damage yourself, is because you're precious to him. And just don't do that. Then he gets into a comment here where he says, the relative characteristics of a child. They are, number one, the child is the parent's. It's the parent's child, no matter what the kid thinks or what he decides in his tevished years, his years of teenager years of being out of his mind or her mind. The word in Hebrew for the teenage years is tevished, okay? Tepesh in Hebrew means it's foolish. So it's the foolish years, okay. I know, but no, Michael's not that way. No, Michael's not that way at all. Michael is actually Michael here is an exception to this. The child is the parent's. Number two, he says, a parent, and this is something else we sometimes forget, a parent values the child for the child himself, not for any utility he may provide, not for what the kid's going to do for him, or what kind of work he's going to get out of the kid. You understand what he's saying? Do we ever think that Hashem is the same way? Of course he is. In other words, what he's saying is Hashem values his children for the sake of the children themselves, whether they do any work or don't do any work.
Amen.
Whether they're good kids or bad kids.
Amen.
Whether they're workaholics or lazy. He values the children for the children themselves and not for any service that he's going to get out of them. Now, so does that mean, okay, we can be couch lizards and we don't have to do the mitzvot anymore, we don't have to do the service of Hashem? Of course not. That's not what that means at all. It means from Hashem's point of view, as the parent, he values you for just who you are. That's all. He says the people of Israel are called the children of God simply because they are his. And because they were created as an end in their own right, not as a means to an end, but as an end in their own right, and not to serve some other purpose. He says, indeed, the entire world itself was created to serve the children of God, the whole universe. And therefore, they are called children. And that is why his love for Israel is like that of a father towards his son, and why we can have a complete bond with him. Now, I don't want people to think, okay, so I'm not Jewish, so it's not talking to me. That's not I don't even think that's what the Maharal is trying to say. This is for all human beings, absolutely, without any exception. Most of them, no, it's what? What are you going to argue with me?
Does that mean if we attach ourselves to you, or, can you explain that a little bit?
No. No, if I explain it, the only way to actually explain that, and it's the only thing that actually makes sense, is the explanation of the Baal HaSulam, the master of the ladder, Rabbi Yehuda Lev Ashrag, in his explanations that when the term Yisrael is used, it's a reference to the Yisrael part of every soul. Jew or non-Jew. So it's not just, and yet at the same time we understand that in the world today, Yisrael, they are the Jewish people. And we could just teach on and on and on on top of this. And yeah, non-Jews, if the Israel part of their soul is in charge, they should be attached to the Jewish people without any doubt. But does that mean that Hashem doesn't care for someone simply because they haven't come to that kind of a transformation yet? I don't think that's true at all, and I don't think that's even being suggested here. No. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. If that was the case, he would never draw anyone to himself that is lost and far away and wandering and not knowing. You understand what I'm saying? So I think we have to be very careful when we come to these kinds of concepts and make black and white lines.
Right.
I think this is, well, we just really need to study it and have an understanding of it. Okay.
So anytime I'm reading personally to myself at home, I shouldn't take any of this as black and white. I mean, I should remember.
No, you should know the Torah by now, especially the oral Torah. That.
Well, I know, but every once in a while, something a rabbi is teaching this.
Well, no, I understand. No, listen to me. There would be many, many rabbis today who would say that everything that Rabbi Akiva here is talking about is strictly for the Jewish people. Doesn't have anything to do with any other person on the face of the earth other than the Jewish people. And at one point in time, in my understanding of things, I might have also said, oh, yeah, that's what he's saying. I don't understand it that way anymore. I understand it, and I guess it's just from working with B'nai Noach and working with non-Jews for so long and seeing that they obviously have something. I mean, without full conversion to Judaism or anything else, I can't say that anymore. And the only way I could even come to, I actually through many, many hours of talking to Hashem about this. Okay, so what does he send me? He sends me Rabbi Yehuda Lev, who, as soon as I read his explanations, they made absolutely perfect sense. And at the same time, I have to be careful how I even talk about them, because some Jews and some rabbis would get very upset about it, and I have no reason to get them upset. I mean, but still, this is to me the truth, and where every soul, according to Rabbi Yehuda Lev Ashlag, has an Israel part of the soul and a nation's part of the soul, whether you're a Jew or a non-Jew. Right. And that in the end, and we studied this very clearly with the Ramchal, where he says the same thing, in the world to come, there will be only Israel. That statement has to stand by itself. And there will be all the righteous from among the nations. Well, that statement has to stand by itself also. So, in some sense, there will be only Israel. But obviously at that time, Israel will include all the righteous from among the nations, which doesn't mean also that they've converted to Judaism, or it wouldn't call them righteous from among the nations anymore. It wouldn't refer to them that way. So you understand what I'm trying to say? The concept in the world to come will include souls. It will include Jewish souls. It will include non-Jewish souls. That the Israel part of their soul has connected them and made them be able to be there in that world, in that form, in that shape. Okay?
And really, that's the only reason to me that makes sense about the world around us that we see.
Yeah.
And approaching.
Yeah. Here's the deal.
That, some people are just upside down.
Well, yeah, well, they are upside down. Yeah. In fact, even people who are connected to Hashem can go through their day right side up, and next minute they're upside down. And then they get back, and then they go back. This is a Benoni. This is the explanation of a Benoni, an in-between person. Okay? You flip. And until you come to the place of really being a complete tzaddik, I mean a completed person, you can flip back and forth. I understand. I think the Jewish people themselves, and especially the sages and the rabbis of today, they have to move to a better understanding of exactly this subject. But at the same time, it's not like we have one chief rabbi who makes the decisions on everything. You understand what I'm saying? So the Mashiach, this is why we have to wait for the Mashiach to be able to bring about some of these things. Okay, all right. But as far as from what I teach you from that level of understanding of Rabbi Yehuda Lev Ashlag, the Baal HaSulam. Okay? All right. Now, see, you got me way off into a thingamajig there. No, it's all right simply because these particular Mishnayot, I mean, because it's constantly mentioning Israel, and then you get into the commentary, and they're saying, like, only the Jewish people are the children of God, and I don't think that's what the Mishnah is saying, and I certainly don't think that's what the Torah is saying. Yeah. Okay. So it's a good thing that we did talk about it, so that there's not a huge misunderstanding. I'll probably be excommunicated tomorrow, but it'll be okay. A cherished utensil, he says, was given to them, through which the world was created, the universe was created. And the gift that he obviously gave, he says, is the Torah. And it is certainly a cherished utensil, a vessel, because the world was created through it. And he says, the Maharal says, the Torah is the master plan. The master plan is devised by Hashem, okay? That dictates the workings of the universe, absolutely. He says, in this conceptual blueprint, not only is it the vessel, not only is it the utensil, but it's also the tool of implementation, because the conceptual acts upon the corporeal. Do we understand? He's using very big words, the Rabbi Basser is, that are hard for me to say. What is he saying? So he's talking about the Torah, in a few words, he's talking about the Torah on all the different levels, okay? And the Torah wears different garments on the different levels, meaning the spiritual universes, from the world of Atzilut to the world of Briah to the world of Yetzirah. It has different garments. And then it comes, and in this world, in the physical world of Asiyah, it comes in the garments that we know, all right? Wearing the clothes that we know. But it's all connected, one to the other. And again, this picture of the roots of a tree being parallel to the branches of the tree. In this case, it's upside down. The roots are in the spiritual realms, and the branches are here. This is what he's trying to say. It's Torah all the way from Atzilut to the world of Asiyah. That's what he's trying to say. It's not like we think of, oh, the Torah is just for this world. No, the Torah is literally, he's going to tell us in a minute, I think in the commentary, the Torah really is the tree of life. And the tree of life is branches here, roots there. Okay? He says, we know from experience that envisioning a result can make it happen. Now he's talking about our state of mind. He says, for example, if a person apprehensively crosses a stream over a narrow board, then the thought of falling will probably actually cause him to fall. Okay? What's he using? He says we do the same thing with our heads. What's going on in our head is totally unseen. Okay? But it comes to pass. Just our thoughts can work themselves out to where they come to pass in the physical world. It's just the Torah is the same way. What's the Torah there is totally unseen to us, but it does actually produce everything here. All the more so, he says, the Torah, which embodies the expectations of God, what God is expecting. He says they act upon creation. If I hurry, we'll finish this Mishnah and pick up Mishnah number 19 in the next one. Okay. That he was created in God's image, described as the children of God, a cherished utensil was given to them. All three, he says, of these expressions of love, they actually correspond, he says, to a different level of existence. The greatness due to being, this is his explanation, the greatness due to being made in the image of God comes in the context of the human race's mastery over the physical world. Higher still, he says, is the gift of the Torah, because that is the supreme wisdom of the highest, actually, spiritual world. And the highest level of love is conveyed through the relationship as being God's children. All right? Children of Hashem. Through that relationship, Yisrael sets a crown upon the head of the King of all kings, as the rabbis tell us. And he quotes now from, in the Talmud, Chagigah 13b, where it says an angel actually ties on a crown for his master that is made of the prayers of Yisrael. He said that statement is a very profound insight into our relationship as God's children, because it's also said in the verse in, I think this in Mishle, Proverbs 17:6, where it says, children's children, in other words, your grandchildren, are the crown of grandparents. So basically he's saying all three of these things, every one of these things that Rabbi Akiva mentions here, is actually very, very deep expressions of God's love for us. Very, very much so. And that he's honestly loves you even without expecting anything from you. Even if you're not so good. I mean, we have to see it that way. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't punish, he doesn't chastise, he doesn't do all of those things. He's a good parent. He's absolutely the best. He's the very, very best. He doesn't make mistakes like I make. So he's absolutely the very best. So it doesn't mean that you get by with anything. That's not what that means. But it means his love for people is not based on either the way they act or expecting anything from them. He loves them, period. He's the creator of them. Okay. All right. I think we'll stop right there. So shalom aleichem, or shalom uvracha, peace and a blessing to you.
Thank you for joining us in our study. If you enjoyed this study and are interested in learning more from the Torah and the sages of Israel, then check us out on the internet at www.bfm101.com, or you may contact us toll-free at 1-800-639-0169. Our mailing address is Biblical Faith, P.O. Box 2, Abilene, Texas 79604. Until next time, we wish you shalom uvracha, peace and a blessing.